And he never was really interested in politics as much as he was in using politics in the office of the presidency to agitate, meaning to divide the country, to spread disinformation. The top 1% of the people are preventing you from being successful.
So they're licking their lips, they're making their big move.
All these Marxist lies. So you saw Obama in the speech with Hillary. He also talked about that unemployment is only 4%. We have tremendous job growth. We're now safer because of his policy.
So we have record crime rate, global destabilization, never before seen. All top analysts admit we're really in a depression. But just like the Soviet Union in 1989 was still claiming it was doing great.
Correct. Everything is a lie. It's Soviet-era disinformation, disinformatia. And this is what Obama will be doing over the next several months with the Democrats and the media to simply echo these lies. And if you look at Venezuela as a new modern example of how the lies of the economy doing great and security and safety all come crashing down all of a sudden, people realize there's no jobs, there's no food, there's no health care, and the entire society is being torn apart. So this idea of this, utopian ideal has been proven to be a disaster again and again.
But it gives them total power and control, so they like it.
Correct.
Don't they know it's a fraud, though? I mean, they've got to be intellectual enough. I know a lot of the top globalists are billionaires that are using this to consolidate power, and then they're exempt from an offshore, and then it destroys their competition, getting rid of a free market. As John D. Rockefeller said, competition is a sin. But used to, I disagreed with you to a certain extent, and Dr. Corsi and others, that it was real communist ideology. I thought they were just using it. But now that I've dug deeper and gotten to know people that know them and actually been around some of it, they don't get the oxymoron that they're on a jumbo jet with a red carpet and he's worth $100 million or whatever. Or Hillary's worth $200 million or $300 million. And that then they're criticizing free market that gave us all these choices and all this freedom and this huge. I mean, so they really are communists. It's bizarre.
Look, their goal is to eliminate the middle class and create one big lower class. And then these bureaucrats become the upper class, the bourgeois. They take control of all the assets of the state.
So are they consciously blood-drinking parasites, or do they really believe they're on BS?
I think they're consciously drug-sniffing parasites. There's no question that they know this entire thing is bunk, but they're people that are being used by others. It's a very sad story. Obama's real father, Frank Marshall Davis, was one of the original black Bolsheviks in Chicago. White communists used him and convinced him that if he would join their party, gets all these perks, and try to convince other black people to join the socialist movement. Fast forward.
And by the way, for new listeners,
yeah.
my mom heard you like five years ago or whatever when your film first came out. And she was like, this is crazy. She saw it, totally convinced. It's total open and shut. We sell the film, Drew's My Real Father. You have it at your website. If you haven't seen it, folks, you're insane if you haven't. It is so mind-blowing. That's why they always said in Harvard Review that he did for years, I was born in Kenya, I'm Kenyan. It's why she said in speeches, I'm from Kenya. It's why they would put out, a birth certificate in 6 layers that's fake on purpose that a 10-year-old could figure out to bait us to think it was. That's why he doesn't look like his supposed relatives. It's all a cutout, and it is Frank Marshall Davis, who he admits in his book was his grandfather's best friend, who he lived with in Summers, who's probably the most famous black communist ever, and then he's pornos with his mother. It's all documented. It's some of the greatest journalism I've ever seen. I don't mean to digress, but snapshot a few minutes for new people, because we have new audiences all the time that don't know who Obama's real dad is, because it's open and shut. I mean, this is his daddy. This is his daddy.
Yeah, Obama's real dad was a black Bolshevik in Chicago. He was ordered to Hawaii by the Kremlin to act as a Soviet agent in 1948 after being a member of the Communist Party for 14 years to help organize the Hawaiian dock workers to strike and take over the Hawaiian government. This is before the state, to expel U.S. naval forces from Hawaii because the Russians felt the U.S. naval forces were an obstacle to Soviet expansion in Asia. Frank Marshall Davis went to Hawaii, organized the strikes for 6 months. It ultimately failed, and Davis stayed in Hawaii, tried to recruit the NAACP there to join the Communist Party, and was investigated by the FBI, a 600-page FBI file, and was on the Security Index A, meaning he'd be arrested immediately if there was a conflict with the Soviet Union. He became a writer and propagandist for the Communist Party newspapers for many years. So this is the guy that I think I have a mountain of evidence was the real biological father, who more importantly became Obama's ideological mentor and radicalized him into this anti-white, anti-American ideology.
But regardless, it's who his dad sent him to stay summers with.
Oh, not summers. He would spend 3 hours a day. And by the way, within a couple days, I'm going to be dropping a new article with Jerry Corsi with WND. I became very close to one of Obama's high school friends who is prominently featured in Dreams from My Father. We're going to have a whole new group of revelations about Frank Marshall Davis and the paternity coming up within a day or two, and I'll be happy to come back on.
Wow, please do.
So that's going to come out. But
I just thought of you because all the photos and stuff that you and others helped get on the Islamic end of him all dressed up. Remember them 9 years ago saying those were fake? Now they just admit they're real.
Right. They had, look, unfortunately, O'Reilly and his gang and mainstream media, even the conservatives, have really let us down, except for you, Alex, because we had all this information years ago, and they're suddenly realizing, well, maybe this guy is a radical communist with Islamic sympathies, something we've been saying for years. Anyway, Frank Marshall Davis, the radical anti-American, anti-white extremist, died in 1985. Lo and behold, Barack Obama latches on to Reverend Wright, who's kind of the same person. He calls him an uncle, but that was his new father figure. And Obama is comfortable with anti-American extremists and uncomfortable with anything American. And this was the big lie. He ran as a mainstream candidate, pretending to love America, when really he threw his voters under the bus and pursued a radical...
Sure, well, I'm anti-American till I study every other country, and it's the best. I mean, it's real easy to be an anti-American if you're some snot-nosed college student, never done anything in your life.
Right. Well, this is the very sad episode that America was duped into by the media and by Obama, and we're suffering the consequences. I think Obama's going to try in the last months of his presidency to continue the radical transformation by flooding us with illegals, by not even caring that these illegals have not been screened for security or medical background
or diseases.
checks.
Well, Joel, that's what gets me. That's why I've gone from thinking total open martial law persecution was a possibility to a probability to a near certainty, is I've never seen in history such brazen corruption, such foaming at the mouth evil, such sabotaging the economy. Just, they run it. They've taken us over. That's not enough. They really want to mount our head on the wall. They really want to blow the engine of free market, even though they've captured it. It is the most, it'd be like if you took over a mansion, you go, well, I don't like who lived here before, I'm going to burn it down. It's yours. I don't understand why they're against prosperity. I don't understand it. Like George Soros, a Nazi collaborator, 60-something years, running around trying to blow up free countries still, financing groups that openly are trying to train to kill police for no reason. It's like, if you're 89 years old, why do you want to finance groups to kill cops? I don't understand these people.
These people have a destructive passion. It's no different from the Islamist jihadists who have a passion to destroy. The radical leftists and Marxists have a destructive passion. They cannot take it, and it makes them miserable when they see people using free speech, Second Amendment
They can't
rights.
take our real liberal freedom, that everybody can do whatever they want, the money, all the choices. They hate it, exactly. They can't compete with freedom.
Right. Their ideology is that only a government control of everything and everyone is the utopian ideal, the utopian society. So when you prove to them that people can be free and productive and go to church and have a job and be happy without their Marxist nonsense, it infuriates them and they have to destroy it. That's why they have so much in common with the Islamists who want to destroy the free
I agree.
market.
Another place where I was wrong, and I've been wrong on a lot of big stuff in history, but I'd hear from you and others 10 years ago that it's an Islamic takeover plan. They're going to flood Europe. It's Sharia law, the caliphate. And I knew they were thinking that, but I thought, good luck. They'll let a few of you attack and then use that as an excuse to take our rights, but, kill you. No, it really seems like they're actually putting them in charge everywhere, making us conform, and really trying to override us with Islam. That is freakazoid. I mean, how is that?
Look, they use poor people to put them at the forefront to demand that we change the welfare system and give free health care. They use Muslims. They use El Salvadorans and Mexicans. They'll put anybody up front to use them as a battering ram to knock down traditional free market society. And I made the analogy earlier about Frank Marshall Davis. He was used by white communists in Chicago to become part of the communist movement. Fast forward 1985. Bill Ayers and his Marxist terrorist gang were using his father, Thomas
That's right, because historically you couldn't get any black people to join a communist movement. I mean, they were the most anti-communist group of anybody.
The Marxists in Chicago were dying to get the black church groups involved in their causes because they were so well organized. They didn't want any part of it because communism was atheist. They brought in a front man with a black face, Barack Obama, out of New York, to come into Chicago to join the Developing Communities Project to get in and infiltrate the black churches. And you can see that Obama has done nothing for black people in all of his presidency.
And since they went from being Christians, black Americans, folks, had lower crime rates on average and lower illegitimacy rates than whites. Okay. Right. And now look, as soon as their ideology became leftist garbage, culture annihilated. Same for everybody else. I mean, it's just pure proof. As soon as they had the communists run them, over.
Right. So the ideology is to use people, to use black people, to use poor people, to stir their discontent, rub salt in their wounds, and I'm quoting, and then use their discontent to take power. They don't say, we want to take power to help people. They want to use them to take power. Then they discard them. In my film, There's No Place Like Utopia, I go to Southside Chicago, Detroit. We talk to all these African Americans who've been screwed by these 50, 60 years of leftist control of these cities. They have drug cultures, high crime rates, single mothers, poor education, flooded by immigrants. And they're like, when you talk to them, they're like people that came out of Russia in the 1950s.
All of it's engineered. They're so ready for freedom. Well, that's what I was told by a big Hollywood producer last week. He said, you know, like the black producers and people are the most awake folks in Hollywood now for free market and freedom. But they go, the Hollywood won't let that out. And this is a big white producer. He's produced, like, I mean, major TV shows and movies. And he was saying he's now working with a lot of these libertarian black folks. He was mentioning major names, but he was saying the media will never let them get that information out.
Correct. And let me circle back on the photos and Obama's opinion for Islam. Because in my research, I have developed a case that Obama was not at Columbia University for 2 years as he claimed. He claimed to be their junior and senior years. I've got the proof that he was in Pakistan for his junior year abroad. He was an international studies major, and they all went on junior year abroad. His mother was in Pakistan at the time, and I believe Obama lived as an adult in a Muslim country, and that's where he got his affinity for all things Islam. And then he then went to Columbia on a Ford Foundation scholarship, by the way, which would have been illegal because his mother worked for the Ford Foundation, and that was nepotism. And that's why Obama kept such a low profile at Columbia. Nobody saw him, met him. He didn't join any organizations because of the Ford Foundation connection, which
So is he really a communist? Is he a radical Muslim? Or is it all a CIA cutout? Because, you know, we know his whole family's CIA.
I believe Obama is a radical communist. He was raised and radicalized by radical communists. And this was and later in life, he discovered the connection and support that the Islamists would give for that cause. It's not uncommon in Europe and other countries like the Labour Party in England.
No, Islam's always been for 80 years with the communists. They also ally with the fascists as well. Anything totalitarian. We'll be back with Joel Gilbert. This guy knows his stuff, folks. We'll be back. Stay with us. Your calls as well. The only time I'm wrong is when I underestimate how bad so-called progressives and liberals are. Because I know Republicans are corrupt and bad. They work for the very same special interest. They give us lip service on issues. They're terrible. But, man, when you get to Obama and Hillary, and they really are out to get us. So we get recordings of them going, these bitter clingers, don't worry, I'll beat them. They have some score to settle. It's like they got to show us that they're going to, wreck the country and rebuild it in some horrible image. Joel Gilbert is a documentary filmmaker, joelgilbert.com. And, of course, you can link through there to his other websites and get both his films there. We sell both of them as well. They're excellent. Please support this broadcast. We have great nutraceuticals, great supplements, a lot of them with massive discounts right now. They're going to have to end very soon, probably before the extended July 4th Independence Week sale ends. Monday, we'll have to pull X2 nascent iodine, the good halogen, because that's going to sell out. But some of the other products, like the storable foods, are up to 40% off. Huge specials. We also have 20% off shortwave radios, a giant selection of those. That's already a very low price, already super high quality. We have 20% off the already lowest price on the widest spectrum of non-GMO heirloom